Diego Lopez was one of my predicted champs at the beginning of this year. He was my curveball pick, and I made that call without even knowing that Ilia Topuria was going to vacate the featherweight title and move up to lightweight. And look what happened. He didn't get the win, but he obviously showed up and gave us a great performance. But you know who else was on that card? Jean Silva. That was his first fight of 2025 and the first of the fighting nerds to step into the octagon this year. Or did Rufy go before him? Did Rufy go first? Rufy went first, didn't he? I can't remember. The UFC 314 press conference came out of nowhere. It was announced the same week as UFC 313, and just days before that, Bryce Mitchell had dropped the very first episode of his podcast, Arc Insanity, where he made some comments about Adolf Hitler that Dana White and pretty much the entire world condemned.
I honestly think that Hitler was a good guy. He was a guy to go fishing with.
And at that point, Bryce was getting absolutely buried by fans and media like crazy.
And I'm sure you guys heard what Bryce Mitchell said. I've heard a lot of dumb, ignorant shit in my day. We're beyond disgusted. That's the beautiful thing about this business. For all of you that hate Bryce Mitchell, you get to see him hopefully get his ass whooped. I think he's probably one of the dumbest, literally one of the dumbest human beings. We don't have to agree with it. We don't have to like it.
So Dana being Dana, he throws Bryce Mitchell last minute into UFC 314 against Jean Silva. And at that point, the four main fighting nerds in the UFC were still collectively undefeated, and Jean Silva was starting to become a household name. That press conference, though, turned out to be a huge turning point, because right then, Bryce Mitchell was still the main focus of MMA headlines. Everyone was talking about his podcast comments, and the second he tried to grab the mic, the entire crowd erupted with the loudest boos you've ever heard in your entire stinky life.
Bryce, this has been
But Bryce stayed stone-faced, didn't stumble once on his answers, and stuck to his word. Then came Jean Silva's moment, his first UFC press conference, and he took full advantage. He shows up with a globe, mocking Bryce's flat earth beliefs. He's barking like a dog, pacing back and forth, trying to rattle Bryce.
Look, Bryce Mitchell, please.
And then Bryce drops one of the coldest, most badass lines we've ever heard in a presser.
I put a lot of dogs down in my day. All those dogs that like to come up to the farm, they kill my animals, they come to harm me and my family, and they come barking. You know what they all got in common? They squeal right before they die.
Watch this full episode of the Dynamite Gizmo podcast by clicking the link in bio.